Welcome back to the 1760 sessions where we talk to founders building systems and impact. I'm Harry Thornberry. You've seen my face before from 1760 Strategic AI. And today I'm joined by the fantastic Alfred Lynch, founder of Leach Advisors, a strategic advisory and communications firm focused on corporate reputation. I've met with Alfred before and we've had a good conversation. And with over 30 years of experience in New York, before establishing operations in the Research Triangle, North Carolina, Alfred helps middle market companies navigate mergers, restructurings, bankruptcies, and aggressive growth phases. Operating as a lean six-person team across New York and Chapel Hill, Leach Advisors delivers the strategic clarity and narrative building that companies need when the stakes are at their highest. Bit of a lengthy intro, but Alfred, thank you so much for being here.
I hope I can live up to that great intro, but thank you.
I think that's the longest one I've done so far. Um, I hope it all made sense. So, Alfred, to kick off with, the big first question is, what inspired you to start Leach Advisors after you've had, say, 3 decades or so in New York's communications world?
Uh, well, the opportunity to continue to serve clients. I mean, that's at the end of the day, I'm an advisor, a counselor. So as long as the ideas and drive are still within me, I want to be out there helping and serving. There's a lot of
Awesome.
need in the marketplace, but there's a bit of freedom that comes with having your own firm. You can pick and choose which clients you want to work with. You can pick and choose the team that you want to work with. So, for me, after a long corporate and big agency career, having something smaller that is a little bit more manageable to have your arms around, it's less red tape, if you will, and we can work directly with clients in the
Yeah.
C table. It's very inspiring. It's very fulfilling. I'm
Yeah,
still enjoying what I do after all these years.
that's amazing. And look, from our previous discussion, it sounds like even from the top down, you're very hands-on with clients.
Always have been. Uh, you've heard this probably many times before. The higher you move up in a company, certainly on the advisory side, oftentimes the further away you move from the client.
Yeah.
You're involved in administration and mentoring and managing and new business, and all those things are important. But for me, I always enjoyed the work. I
Yeah.
always enjoyed rolling up my sleeves and getting deeply ensconced in the work, and I still do.
Okay, amazing. And for listeners who may not know your background, what kind of key experiences shaped how you approach what you do today?
Well, there were a few critical ones. Certainly working at Hill Knowlton in the late '80s under Bob Schneider, the CEO then, who your fella, Sir Martin Sorrell, ultimately bought our firm.
Yeah.
Uh, we became part of the British uh, PR empire of WPP. Bob was a very big influence and mentor to me. He put me on a lot of, and some of the colleagues at Hill Knowlton on some very tough assignments to really see what we could tackle. And we really honed our critical thinking, our media relations, our messaging development, our ability to work with C-suite executives at
Yeah.
Fortune 500 companies when you're not even 30 years old. So that was a
Incredible
really,
experience.
yeah, that was a great experience. Really understanding how the news media back then worked. Deloitte, working in house at Deloitte for 5 years. They always say the numbers tell a story of a company. It was a very exciting period to be with one of the world's most prominent accounting consulting firms. Their standards are high. Everybody works hard and smart. So really understanding a lot about finance helped. Burson Marsteller, there was a guy named Michael Clays over there, and he was the big merger and acquisition guy, and he really mentored me and taught me a lot about how to put all my skills together to help companies uh, identify what the intrinsic value is when they're putting together, companies when they're acquiring or merging companies. How does one and one make three? And to kind
Yeah.
of help unwrap that for companies and take it to market to ultimately support their valuation of their stock price. I really, really enjoyed that. And so what I've found is that companies that are in transition or transformation, right, through organic or acquisition or other types of restructuring undertakings, need a narrative that really conveys that new intrinsic value to their customers, their employees, communities, regulators. And, I've assembled a great team at Leach Advisors that's focused on that. And
Mm.
there's six of us. We're all senior people out of big corporations and agencies. And any one of us can work and have worked with a CEO directly. So they get great counsel. There's a lot of confidence and trust that the client puts in us to help them define these narratives during these times that are changing. And I attribute that back to some of the firms I've had the privilege to work with over the years.
You threw out some very big names there,
Yeah,
specifically with your background.
Citygate was a really good one. That wasn't really where I started with the merger and acquisition work. That was at Burson, but Citygate was a British firm, and
Yeah.
I had a great time working with a lot of European companies and on some transcontinental international deals, which was very exciting. The British really understand. They have a very different way of working in communications. It's a little bit more tabloid type of focused, a little more scuttlebutt to kind of gain some leverage, but it's very effective. And
Okay.
it really opened my eyes that the way the media work in America is not the way that the world works. That there's cultural nuances,
Huge. Yeah.
and you have to be privy to that and to really understand how to adapt, right, your message and the way you work with building relationships around the world. So, it's been there's a lot of companies that have really helped inspire me and educate me to get me where I am today, and I'm very grateful to them.
And at what point did you realize that there was potentially a gap in the market for something like Leach Advisors to come in?
Well, in the Raleigh market, I saw that there was an opportunity here, largely from demand, with some of the phone calls I'd get and people I'd meet and
Yeah.
talk to, that they said a lot of the acquisitions or merger announcements, because the investment bankers, many of them are in New York or Boston or San Francisco, they would go to those markets. And then those investment bankers have their own Rolodex, so to speak, of their own context of the kind of communications firms they use. So the first thing I did was open a New York office so that
Yeah.
we could go to both ends, right? We could work here with the companies, but also work with them in New York. And then it was just networking through lawyers in New York or down here to help build those bridges. So I saw an opportunity here. There's a lot of competition here, a lot of good firms in the research triangle, a lot of smart people. But I think we're relatively uniquely positioned. I don't want to be arrogant to say we're the only one, but we're in a good lane of really helping and focusing on transaction transformation type of projects for clients.
And how has that been now having the two different offices, New York and North Carolina?
Yeah.
Um,
So as I mentioned, I mean, I've been very lucky to, I've handpicked teammates whom I've known or worked with for many, many years, over
yeah.
10, 20. So there's a very high level of confidence and trust that I have them in them. And as a result of that, it's very easy for me to, you know, to be able to function between two offices. I don't really have to worry about who's doing their job or what they're saying to clients. This is an excellent team. So that gives me a lot of freedom to kind of really focus on new business, working with existing clients to advise them, and I do quite a bit of training as well. This weekend, I'll be in two 12-hour sessions on AI development alone. So, I try to stay ahead of the curve.
Awesome. And as you know, and as we spoke about before, you need to be able to stay ahead of the curve in order in order to grow your business. So we've touched upon your fantastic experience across merger and acquisition and all those skills that you've gained. We now know about the two different offices. What I wanted to touch upon is potentially your success and learning so far. So the question I had in mind was what client transformation, there's probably quite a few, makes you most proud, whether it be a successful turnaround, reputational recovery, or just strategic positioning.
There's one in mind. It makes me proud, maybe for a different reason than one might be the most obvious. But there was a company here. It was uh, a clinical research organization that was private equity backed, and
Yeah.
they were doing about $200 million a year in revenue. So they're relatively small, and they went on a roll up spree of acquiring two or three other CROs in other markets in the U.S. and then one in the U.K. actually as well. Um, we felt that we were given some of the communications and brand, and not the branding side, but really more the communications side of the assignment on the post-merger integration, right? Of trying to say we're one company, and this is the way we do things, and we value all of our employees and our new employees, and we have a vision for the future that's very bright. So really helping paint what that future aspiration can look like to bring people along. There was a branding firm that was working on the brand identity for the organization, and ultimately the CEO chose to give that work to us because we were we were already managing much of the narrative and positioning for the company. Anyway, throughout that journey of brand discovery, we had gone pretty far down one track and spent quite a bit of money, well into the six figures. And the CEO was pretty much on board with it. I mean, they were happy, but internally, a light bulb went off one day, and we weren't. We had a new vision for what the identity should really look like, and although this was a bit risky, we went into the client and said we want to put a hard stop on what we're doing because we think there's a better way. And he kind of looked and listened, and I think it really spoke, and not in a self-righteous way, but I think it really spoke to the commitment and integrity of the team, that they felt longer term the client would be better served with a different creative direction, and it ultimately
Didn't
worked out. It worked
did,
out really well.
did that ruffle a few feathers though?
Uh, I think it gave them pause for a moment that we would second guess ourselves. We did a whole retrofit at our cost. We
Yeah.
did not charge them a second time, but we wanted to get it right. And I think just scraping the surface of some of the stuff we looked at, it looked great, but it didn't have the legs that I think the company needed over the next 10 plus years. So that's one of the moments I'm probably the most proud of, if you have
I
to
love to
ask
hear
me,
that.
proud of, is trying to do the right thing for the client. You
Putting them
know,
first.
put them first. You're not chasing money. You're really, you're chasing legacy,
Yeah.
right?
And this person is more likely to refer you on should you have come back and said, like, hey, this wasn't working well the first time. We actually believe it should go in a better strategic direction. And that's kudos to you guys for recognizing that. So
Yeah, it's a good referenceable client, and it makes you feel good too. That again, that you've got a team that thinks out of the box, and they're willing to fall on their sword if they need
yeah,
to do the right thing. So um, yeah, that's probably the one
that's
that stands. There's another one that stands out. I can talk more about this. This was
yeah, please.
during the Burson Marsteller days with Conrail. which is the large railroad up for grabs between CSX and Norfolk Southern. It was a big proxy fight, and looked like the shareholders were not going to go our way. We were representing Norfolk Southern, and my supervisor, this gentleman named Michael Clays, I'll never forget. We worked, I mean, probably almost an all-nighter, getting ads out to run in the Wall Street Journal, and press releases out, and really just working to get the shareholders to vote for Norfolk. And we ultimately did prevail, but it was by a very thin margin and really down to the wire. And I'll never forget, he said, "Al, never give up.
Yeah.
Down to the last minute, never give up." It's like, if you're a track runner, you see the finish line is 3 feet in front of you, you don't slow down, right?
Speed
You
up.
lean in. You lean in, right, to the very, very end. That's really stuck with me. I don't know that he'll remember that. Maybe he will, but he's inspired a lot of people. But yeah, that's something that stuck with me. Is you fight on behalf of your client, and do your best. And hope for the best.
Okay. I should take away that advice myself. I like it. Do you know what? It's not even what he said. It was your analogy of the track runner. When you're at the finish line, that's when you really lean in. So I'll take that away and probably get it tattooed somewhere. So let's flip the question on its head. And what do you feel running Leach Advisors probably has been maybe one of your toughest lessons? Because every client I can imagine requires deep engagement, lots of strategic thinking, and probably lots of objectivity as well.
Yeah, we've been doing that long enough that things fall into a cadence. That's not the hard stuff. The hard stuff is what changes around us, the uncertainty. AI has a lot of people, a lot of clients very concerned because we don't know what we don't know. And we don't really understand as an agency fully how to embrace it. It helps with note taking. It
Yeah, of
helps with
course.
research, but the writing still needs to be original. It can be
Of course.
supported by AI, and I think you need to be transparent about that. But you need to be knowledgeable as an advisor of what your view is, right? You can't rely on artificial intelligence for that. But I think that's probably the hardest phase right now, the last year or two, is where's all this going? It's changing, evolving so fast. Clients are really having a hard time getting their arms around that.
Yeah,
You invest too much in it and it's the wrong bet, that's going to have a very negative impact for clients. So, that's probably the hardest part for us as an agency is utilizing the right tools the right way at the right time for the client's benefit.
of course. And one of my topics today to cover was AI. And I just because you touched upon it, I'll jump forward to it. And it's important to know, having worked with many clients and helped them onboard AI, 1760 isn't just here's AI, use it, and we leave you alone. It's an educational piece. So the old saying, you teach a man to fish instead of giving him the fish. That's pretty much what we try and do when we implement systems. And help people move forward in the way of AI as it's forever evolving. So, have you ever experimented with any automation within your own organization, or is it simply just for the help of email writing, for example?
It's largely been research. We'll do a lot of trying to glean some competitive intelligence as to what's out there in the industry. So a peer set for a client. What are some of the trends in the industry that
Yeah,
are coming up that are related to thought leadership or innovation, things of that nature. Really, that's a large part of how we use that. We may use some in writing to at least give us an outline on how to start. we'll probably spend more time editing than we will with prompts. I mean, we are still still very much of a human component
Yeah.
our work with AI. But that's largely how we've used it. There's a lot of research, some writing assistance, really what it can tell and show us specific to a client and their industry and kind of what intelligence is out there about, like in a SWOT analysis, right, to help us.
Yeah. I think ever since I got a business degree, I've been using a SWOT analysis. Um, I don't think I'll ever stop using it, to be honest. So, when it comes to your current tech stack for managing client work, communications, and business development, what are you using?
Well, we have basic tools. I mean, we're still using the Microsoft Suite. We're
Yeah.
using the Adobe Suite for a lot of the design. We're using Canva and Divi and lots of other tool sets for web. So we're full service. So
Okay.
we'll ultimately come up with a narrative, and then how do we express that through advertising, through branding, through web development. So there's a variety of tools that we're using, but the our webmaster and art director are better suited to talk specifically about that. I'm more the strategy guy as to this is the
Yeah.
direction we go there, and they're the geniuses that come up with what it looks.
And even from a strategy point of view, you say you're using something like a Microsoft Suite, using the Adobe Suite. Which tasks do you find are consuming the most of your time? Is it research, outreach, client follow-up, or just simply something like proposal development?
Uh, well, the proposal, yeah. So a little bit of each. Um, so we don't subscribe. I've never subscribed to having proposals that are static, and you plug in the client's name and a paragraph or two about a scope of work, and the rest is kind of boilerplate. Uh, uh, when I've supervised teams over the years, when you use a template approach like that, sometimes they get the wrong, they forget to take the other client, the former client, name out
Yeah,
of it. So
I've
it's,
done that. I'm guilty of that.
yeah, we've all been there at one point in our career or so. So I like to kind of start from scratch. For now, there's a certain format we use and that we know that we need to cover about us, about the client, what the current situation is, what our approach and strategy are, what the tactics are, budget, that kind of stuff. Uh, so that's a bit time consuming, but we know how to do that pretty well. Um, New business is always the challenge. We're blessed that the phone rings, but there is proactive outreach we need to make. So it's identifying who we think would benefit from our services and a good working relationship. There's some research there. What are the fastest growing companies in the
Fast
research
50.
trial,
They
right?
are.
What are the mid-market companies that can work with us? Because the very large Fortune level companies want multiple offices around the world. That's not us. Um, so some of that research is very time consuming to figure out on a proactive basis who are the right clients for us to chase. Um, the as I mentioned, some of the research around that as well, of understanding why they should talk to us and how we think we can help, is a bit time consuming. But AI is very friendly, cuts through a lot of that if you get the prompts
Cuts through the
right,
noise. Yeah, yeah.
hours into seconds. Then it's just a matter of what do you do with it? What do you learn from that? How do you apply it? We're not necessarily automating outreach. We are looking at that though in terms of new business, of targeting, identifying uh, companies that I think AI probably has a role in that.
Yeah, awesome. Certainly. As I mentioned before on our previous call, AI can very much help you scale and search for these organizations, whether it's scraping the data from a data source, and then you literally just put your ideal client, who that could be in, and then it will scrape everyone and then just do outreach across multiple touch points, so you're forever at the front of someone's inbox and front of their mind. But with that comes a level of training. The AI has to feed off your tone of voice, as you don't want to be putting out the wrong message. The What I understand about Leach Advisors from our discussions is you're incredibly personal, Alfred, and you don't want to lose that touch within your communications. But that is something that AI obviously learns from you. I wanted to look as one of our final parts of the pod, as you've been running the organization for a while now. What's the future of Leach Advisors? So, what does the next 3 to 5 years do you reckon look like for you?
Yeah, it's really building out New York.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah, we're pretty well established here in the Triangle. I've been here 12 years now. It's a very tight knit, wonderful business community. We've been ranked first or second or third in the country
Amazing.
over the last 5 years as the best state for business. I mean, it's a very tight knit organization. Yeah, the organization is very tight knit here. Um, so, you know, I need to stay visible and relevant in the Triangle. It's really building out New York. That's the
Okay.
one of the centers of the universe, and I think really important to the company's future.
Okay. And what are the next steps to scaling New York?
Well, it's winning getting in with some of these law firms and
Yeah.
to help their clients. I think that's a big door opener rather than trying to chase business around a city with 11 million people in it. It's really investing through law firms and investment bankers
Okay.
and helping serve their clients.
This
And
cut.
we've had some good progress with that, but
Okay.
to really scale, we're going to need to invest more heavily in that.
Amazing. So this kind of leans into my next question that I had lined up for you. So New York is next. Are there any plans to expand into any other geographies or grow the team? So probably going to invest in the New York team, or because you cover a lot of different verticals, or do you want to specialize in one particular vertical? Um, how does that look?
Yeah, so we will actually be. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag yet, but there'll be some exciting news about Leach Advisors and some branding coming up in February. But we're going to be very focused on economic development, supporting law firms on transactions, litigation support, reputation management, and then the C-suite at mid-cap companies. Those will be largely the three lanes we're going to really operate in. So, that could take us anywhere in the world. We'll be speaking to a company next week from the UK that needs assistance here in America.
Okay.
I've got some contacts in Hong Kong and Abu Dhabi that we're talking to that have interest in raising their company's profiles here in the United States. So, you know, there's a big opportunity. The world gets smaller as technology advances, right? People can
Yeah.
do what we're doing right now, right, through Zoom, and so it's really a matter of staying relevant, staying on par with where the technology trends are leading us, and really, helping see around corners to help clients manage their reputations effectively in good times, because when bad times strike, that's when you lean on the equity, the brand equity.
Yeah.
So, yeah, building out New York, I don't see us having offices elsewhere, but I think we can expand our relationships in other markets where our services would be needed. And certainly, I've done a lot of work over the years in London. There's quite a bit of interest there, opportunity there. Middle East, Abu Dhabi is a very robust area,
Yeah.
and
Fast growing.
yeah, fast growing. A lot of Westerners there. So I'm encouraged that over the next 3 to 5 years there may be some opportunities there too.
Yeah, amazing. Um, just from your approach, Alfred, it seems like that you have fantastic foresight from a strategic point of view, constantly looking ahead, constantly trying to see what's around the corner. So I'm excited to see What happens with Leach Advisors, specifically in February with the new branding. I'm sure you can tell me that offline. So for my last couple of questions, just diving into that future piece. What is your North Star metric moving forward? Is it number of clients, revenue growth, impact of transformations, or is it something else? And then furthermore, if you had unlimited resources, what's the next big initiative you'd launch to multiply your impact and reach?
Yeah, well, so we probably, it's not necessarily the volume of clients, it's how deep we go with them that matters. So, we want to keep a healthy roster, right, of
Yeah.
clients, but we're not looking to grow. We're not looking to scale headcount. We're looking to establish a good pipeline of retainer and project-based clients that we can serve. And you have to ask yourself the question sometimes. We're a privately held company. Growth for the sake of growth isn't always necessary or good for a company, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you mentioned earlier that sometimes the more you grow, the further you get away from the client. So, it's very important to me keep our organization small and nimble, maybe up to 10 people, and really serve clients with distinction. I know that sounds cliche, but that's the North Star is help them get where they need to go. So
And then the
we want
growth
to
side,
remain
the
very,
growth will come with that.
yeah, the growth does come, and but we want to be very mindful of that. We're not just chasing it for the sake of, we're not chasing money. We're chasing solutions for companies, right? To really be their key advisor. Unlimited resources, my interests would be much more charitable than they would be business. It would be, start a foundation to help the needy. You know,
Yeah, of course.
it's how do you touch mankind in a way that can make a difference? I mean, that's where my head and heart would go.
Of course. And one day we will get there. Leach Advisors, who knows? There could be a Leach Advisors Foundation in the next 3 to 5 years. Watch this space. But Alfred, look, that was a fantastic discussion. Particularly, my favorite part probably was leaning into your experience and how it's shaped where you are today, and how you're looking ahead at what's in the future. And what's best for your clients, really. So, Alfred, I could probably keep talking, but we're at time, and I just want to say thank you so much for coming on. There's plenty that I learned, and there's plenty that our listeners will learn. And to be honest, I'd love to have you back on, but thank you so much.
I'd enjoy that, and I enjoyed this. Thank you.
Amazing, Alfred. Thank you.